Uh, Welcome to another episode of Seent. My name is Dalen Kirkwood, the arbiter of this particular show, and I have Carlos Macias on with me. Yes, arbiter. I decided to say it. I got Carlos Macias on with me, and in this episode of Seent, we of course talk about movies and TV shows, and in this particular case, we are going to kick it off strong. Carlos, what did you think of The Batman?
First of all, Dalen, let me thank you for having me on your show. Let me just get that out the way.
That's your favorite thing to say. It's my show. Okay, I appreciate this.
Are we gonna do it like last time? Actually, we should have discussed this previously, but we're gonna do non spoiler as possible first, right? And then full spoilers, right?
Right? Yes, fine.
So
we'll
meaning
do it that way.
Meaning the beginning can be short, right? Just to this is overall, and then spoilers, we get really knee deep into it. But I will say, Dalen, thank you for kind of throwing it my way. I try not to take over, but I already feel like I'm taking over, so I'm sorry.
You immediately said, let's throw some tidbits. You could have said this before or after.
True.
You did not have to put this on tape.
Very true.
I'll let it
go. But it's now on wax. And I did say before we record, Dalen, shoot it to me, because I have one big question for you, and I'll give it like my quick thoughts, and then I'll throw it back to you. But I did watch this movie, The Batman, and when you watch the movie, you kind of get a sense of, okay, oh, that's why they called it The Batman, right? It's sort of part of the some part of the plot, right? But I will say this, and I this past week I've been working an early schedule, so I've been kind of getting used to that, to kind of being a little sleepy. So I did watch it right after work. It's a 3-hour long movie. Now this is the big question, Dalen. Is this movie boring AF? I feel like it was. I don't know. I don't know if I was falling asleep just because I have an early schedule and that, but I kind of like the pace of this kind of movie. It's very like noir type of movie, like a detective type of story, right? So it's slow, it's plotting. Like I saw on Twitter the other day, they said the movie's very methodical, and someone in the replies was like, "Oh, and by methodical you mean long and boring." And I think that's what I mean for The Batman, man. Is it boring, Dalen, or is it just me that I'm super sleepy because of my work schedule?
I think you're just super sleepy because of your work schedule. Quite honestly, it is a matter of, when it comes to the Batman, it is supposed to be the greatest detective, even though he's also the Batman and fair. Out there kicking bad guy butt. And that's generally what people have come to expect, because they're so used to seeing all these older versions of Batman, like the original Batman with Michael Keaton. I'm just talking about the live action movies. It was very action packed, but there was absolutely no actual detective stuff that happened in that movie.
Yeah,
I mean, he wasn't detecting anything. He just jumped to conclusions and found everything out. And in this
I am picking up what you're putting down. Now that you put it that way,
that's because he's supposed to be the greatest detective.
Still thought it was damn boring, and maybe the movies have conditioned me. The Christopher Nolans, those are. He's not doing a lot of detective work, but that movie's just badass. Those movies are just incredible.
Well, he does do. He at least for the Christopher Nolan movies, he does detection through technology. I mean, he had like sonar scanners and stuff like that, and he had a whole slew of people behind him helping him out in actually creating stuff to be able to be more of a detective through the gadgets that he has. But this is year 2 Batman. Not year 1 Batman, not year 5 Batman, but year 2. He already had a hard enough time with year 1, which I'm not going to get into. If that's the case, go watch the animated movie. And then year 2...
well, he did in like his journal, right? I don't think this is too spoiler, but in one of his books that he's writing in the movie, he says year 2 of the Batman project or something like that. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
That's exactly what the movie is referring to. They want you to know that this is year 2 of his situation.
So you feel like if I was a little more alert, the thing. So this is my quick aside. Like at work earlier today. Yeah, I am working, right? But sometimes I got a little bit of time of catching up on some TV. I've been watching this show called Severance on Apple TV, and that's a slow movie show, and I'm captivated by it.
Is it as slow as Halt and Catch Fire?
Oh, How to Catch Up was amazing. Don't ever, how dare you speak on that?
that show is such a slow burn.
Oh, so good, dude. Yeah, how dare you, sir? But I watched that earlier today, and I was like, this is captivating. And yet, Batman is 3 hours long. You spend like 2 hours with the movie, like. Okay, I guess we're investigating, but it's predictable too. It's not like none of it is like really absorbing. None of it is like surprising. It's like, well, yeah, of course that leads to this and that leads to that, and they're decrypting, and we'll get to the spoiler bits, but for now, it's kind of like you spend like 2 hours of the movie, like what the hell happens, and then when something happens, there's not that big of a payoff.
No, I think part of that mentality comes from also playing the video games and knowing some of the comic books, because you kind of already know what Riddler does, and in this case they try to keep these riddles fairly simple. Like, I mean, like stupid simple. Like, everybody's just like, oh, justice, all right, that was in the trailer, so not a spoiler there. But obviously there's some riddles in there and puzzles where you're just like, I know exactly what this is, even if you're not a huge Batman fan.
So we don't get too far into it, though, Dalen. You did like the movie, though.
I did.
You did.
I feel like they did Riddler correctly for the first time in one of their movies or TV shows. Regardless, I feel like they actually did Riddler justice. I'm not sure how I feel about the thing that happened at the end. I'm not going to get into that because
we'll talk about it. And
we'll talk about that at the end. But all in all, I do feel like the story progressed really well, especially, again, on the detective aspect of it. And on top of that, he was still kicking a lot of butt when he did kick butt. You just had to get to that point. You had to really absorb yourself in what was happening in the story.
The action scenes are good, and I will give you that we've kind of we've been set up to expect a certain template for these movies, right? I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But can you at least give me this? Was it too long? It was too long, right, Dave?
I can say that it was too long, but it's one of those moments where I gotta say they told their entire story that they intended to tell. Because if you start cutting stuff from the movie, you actually start missing the little details.
Well, and that's not even giving the origin story, right? They give you a taste
the
of it,
story.
but we've seen the origin story, right? Like, so look, I'll give you this. I'll give it a rewatch, but I feel like I don't know, man. I really was. It was boring. I gotta say it was boring. It was predictable and it was boring.
Well, in this one, they leaned into the detective part more than they leaned into the Batman superhero part. That's probably why you found it boring. If you go in watching this movie expecting to see a superhero that wants to just go and kick all the bad guys' butts and get them all arrested, that's not what this is. Because there is an overarching story that he is really trying to figure out, and he's a stumped man because he hasn't dealt with this level of intelligence and this level of complexity in trying to pick people up. I mean,
and I will say,
the only complex person he had to catch in his first year was Calendar Man, and I don't think that's an issue here.
Well, and look, and it's before we should probably get into spoilers, right? Just to get a little deeper into, but as unspoilery as I can, there is still, I guess you're right in that sense. I'm giving you some rights on here, Dalen. Not that I feel that way, but that you're right, and like, okay, you're making some salient points, all right?
You're welcome.
There is a little bit of nuance to his character in this one, but even then, it's so ham-fisted, and it's like, I get it, I understand. It's not the bad people aren't the zombies, the humans are the the humans are the bad people, right? It feels like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I said it wrong, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not the zombies, it's the humans that are bad. And I'm like, that's how it was very ham-fisted.
Yeah.
But should we dip into spoilers, Dalen?
No, we will dip into spoilers at the end.
Well, now, because then we're going to talk Uncharted, right? That's the next movie.
Okay. Well, thanks for spoiling that.
Yeah.
But that said, fine. For anybody who wants to not be spoiled on the movie itself, skip forward about 5 minutes. I'll throw in the time in the comments below. So
we'll do a few minutes, right? Maybe 5 minutes or so.
Maybe 4 or 5 minutes. All right. Okay. So that said, this is the spoiler section for Batman. Robin, was his name Robert Pattinson?
Before we go there, I'm sorry, dude, but before we go there, because it's very spoilery, even the acting is horrible, dude. Like, I understand that I'm sleepy, but that scene with Penguin and the Commissioner Gordon or whatever, and he's like, it's Batman, Commissioner, Penguin, and he shows him a picture, right? And the Penguin.
Oh, you're talking about when
why are you showing me this, man?
You're talking about
like,
when they capture the
out of here.
Penguin after that long chase. That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Real
so,
quick, even the acting is not great, dude. And I'm trying to give these guys the benefit of the doubt.
Hey.
I even think Robert Patterson, the main actor, even him, I'm like, people hate because he was on Twilight and all that stuff. I was like, he's been okay, and he did okay in this one too. But that scene was horrible, man. I mean, the Penguin's like, "What are you showing me, man?" I was like, "Dude, are you serious? What the hell's happening?" Go ahead, Dalen. My bad.
Sometimes you can't have gold all the way across the board. It's just a fact of life when it comes to making movies. And obviously, that's one of the scenes where you could actually feel the campiness of Batman catching a bad guy, or supposedly catching a bad guy.
But you can't be campy and expect me to take your fucking 3-hour movie seriously. Like, you know.
Well, I feel like that's where they might have lost you, is where they hit that campy spot. Because they did the same thing when Selena Kyle went to go confront Falcone. Because I felt that campiness when she was confronting him. There are a couple of spots that are really when it comes to
which I'm all for it, dude. I'm all for the campiness.
I think that part comes down to more of the script writing than it did the actual acting.
I actually was thinking the same thing. I was like, I don't know if it's the acting, because those guys are decent actors. I've seen them.
Yeah.
I've seen them act. I think it has to do with the writing or the script writing or whatever it is, the movie making process that was like, this is a horrible scene. It didn't need to be this bad.
That's also how I felt about, and I didn't say it earlier, but I'm going to say it now, the Joker at the end. I was not happy with that Joker. I understand that there is
weird, right?
There is a version of Joker.
He looked werewolfy a little bit.
There is a version of Joker that is like that, but I really don't like the way that they portrayed him. I just don't like the way that they portrayed him.
But it wasn't that clear, though. He's kind of looked shadowy, right? So he
was clear enough for me to look at him and be like, this is another Cletus Cassidy all over again. They really messed up his face.
I don't know who that is, Dalen. I'm sorry.
Carnage from the Venom movie, the second Venom movie.
Carnage, man. What are you doing giving us the proper nouns?
That's his name.
Their government names over here.
But the one thing that was a whole caveat to the whole movie for me, and really actually a big issue for me outside of everything else, everybody was concerned about Robert Pattinson playing Batman, right? But I didn't have a problem with him playing Batman. I wanted to give him a chance. And I really do feel like he filled out that suit really well. And when it came to the action sequences, he was doing a great job. I'll tell you what, you get shot point blank with a shotgun, you will go down. I don't care what kind of armor you got.
As we know, it's all about making sure you fit in the suit, right? Filling in the suit. It's all about that.
But the problem is that he couldn't fill out Bruce Wayne. He couldn't turn it off.
That was a little cheesy too, right? He was a little too emo, right? Like
he was
some of the
way
scenes
too
were
emo.
a little too emo.
Like every scene he was in, he was too emo. He got out of the bat suit and he was still whatever version of Batman he was trying to portray.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Do you like this better than the Christopher Nolans, than the 88, 89? Where would you put it? What place? So we're thinking the eras, right? 88, 89, and then Nolan, and then this. Which one's your top out of all of them? What's your 1, 2, and 3?
Oh, you're just gonna write off
Nolan?
You're writing off Batman Forever, Batman and Robin all together.
We're not worried about that, right? We're worried Burton, Nolan, and some guy Reeves, or I think his name is Reeves on this one, right? What's your top 3, Dalen? Let me get a taste of it.
You want to know the order that I would place it in?
If you need some time to think.
I actually just recently went back and watched the 89 and Batman Returns version.
Yeah.
I just watched those, and I gotta tell you, man, they had no choreography going on. Batman was not figuring out nothing. His suit was still super stiff, so Michael Keaton had to deal with the
Dalen,
really hard.
Look,
he had to turn really hard. I understand you can't see it.
This is pre anti-hero, pre Breaking Bad. All right, we understand that. We get that, right? But I still say Nolan, Burton, and then this one, dude. That would be my order. What would be your order, Dalen? Don't tell me you put this at the top. You putting this at the top?
No, I'm not putting it at the top. My problem is that putting it in an order is hard to do because there were some really good aspects of this movie that they hadn't done in any previous version.
Yeah. Which is fair.
But then there were other parts that kind of destroyed what they were trying to do at the same time. So that accidental campiness and missing on acting, probably because of script writing, it's really dropping the bar.
The fact that it's 3 hours fucking long,
that wasn't even a problem for me. It actually kept me captivated throughout the movie because I like the detective part of Batman being a detective. So you have to like those types of movies. And it was a huge aspect and gave it a big plus for me. But again, it was just that one issue. Actually, another thing that was great about the movie.
Are you gonna give us your order or what?
All right, fine. I'll give you my order after this last comment on it.
Okay, go ahead before you forget.
They really leaned into the tension that comes with Batman. Every shadow they were showing, you didn't know if he was going to pop up. You could feel the heart beating in all the enemies. There was the point where Penguin was running away in his car, and you could actually feel the tension even when he hops over a truck in his Mustang or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah, but even that was a little cheesy with the Penguin, right? It's like, I got you, I got him, I got you, Batman. Or whatever.
I mean, the fact that he yelled, I got him, was a stupid part, but the fact that he flew through that fire and he was still on his butt the whole time, it was still its own form of tension.
And
we all knew he was going to fly through it.
And the action scenes were pretty cool. They were few and far between, but they were still pretty cool, right? Just the imagery of like, they call it Gotham or whatever, but people really know it as Madison Square Garden, right? Like that's what you're imagining. Right?
They gave it.
I know you don't watch basketball, but it's where the Knicks play, all right?
No, I know.
Madison Square Garden.
But every single fighting scene had a purpose. So that was a fun thing for me, or at least a good plus for me. So if I had to give it an order in regards to cinematography, I'd say Christopher Nolan, The Batman, and then the 1989 version and Batman Returns.
I gotta go watch those. I gotta go watch those again.
Now, in regards to fun with Batman, then I will say the original Batman's 1989 and Batman Returns.
Oh, okay.
Then I gotta say Christopher Nolan was probably the least fun for me, so I will still put this Batman in the middle, and then Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
So cinematography, Christopher Nolan, but
all right.
fun. It was just fun. I don't care if Michael Keaton had to deal with that stiff suit and it was terrible butt kicking, and for whatever reason Harvey Dent was black. It was still a fun movie to watch compared to all the newer movies that are coming out. Kind of how I felt about Mortal Kombat.
I'll give you this, man. Look, I'll try to watch it maybe a couple years from now, Dylan. I'll try to give it a watch with the new lens, but. Honestly, I think that's a fair perspective to put it in. It is the greatest detective, and it did get good reviews. It did. The consensus, if you care about that stuff on Rotten Tomatoes, it did get a good review. But I don't know. For me, I felt it was too long. It was too slow. It was too campy.
You were ready for action like Christopher Nolan, and you were stuck
possibly
on that level.
But that's I don't know. Problem. I think, and you also said like the cinematography. Maybe that's what it was. If the cinematography was better. Right, if it was a little more, because it's very dark and dingy, and that's fine. That's part of the noir aspect to it, but it just seemed too predictable, man. It just seemed too predictable.
That's where your big problem is, that predictability, and I will give you that predictability does kind of throw away from it. But imagine somebody who didn't get a chance to watch the other Batman movies and get to see this for the first time. This is an awesome rendition of Batman.
And we played the game too, right? So maybe
we played all the games too.
If you played the Riddler, you're like, I saw this. So it's kind of a retread in a way, right? Mm-hmm. But I look. You've played the games as well, and you liked it, so we can just meet in the middle. We can agree to disagree. I suppose,
agree to disagree,
right?
and that's why I put Batman in the middle.
Are we giving scores out here, Dylan?
No, we're not giving scores. This is simply for people who want to know how good the movie is. They can listen to this podcast.
I say, I didn't dig it. Like I said, maybe I was a little sleepy, but I feel like I've been watching shit and I've been sleepy, and it was still captivating. I'll give you that. You make some fair points as far as on the detective end of things, but I don't know. There was something. I was ready, man. I wanted to like it. I was giving everybody a chance.
Hey, if anybody wants to see an accurate depiction of what the Batman in his early years was like, this is a great movie to go watch.
Also they took. I know we keep going, right? But they also took forever for the Riddler to like. to me, I think
No,
a lot
that
of
was
things
always
could have
the
been
case.
solved.
That always happens.
No,
They always meet
but-
at the very end. That's always
No,
the
but
case.
I think okay. So even if you leave it towards the end, if it was a tighter 2 hours, 2 hours 15 minutes at the most movie, and you meet towards the end, it would have been great.
All right, I
would've
get it.
been
It's a
like-
3-hour movie, but it's still worth it in the end.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm prepared to see another follow up to the movie. I want to see year 3. All right, so
What? Wait, you said there's year 1. See, people don't even know this crap though. I don't. What year 1? Year 1.
Year 1 of Batman, like when he first really emerged as Batman and nobody actually knew his name. It's year 1 was Batman Begins. That's what it is.
So canon as part of the Batman is Batman Begins.
No,
That's-
no. Canon for part of the Batman is year 1 Batman. There's actually a comic book and
so
an
upset,
animated movie called Year 1.
So you have to watch that. That's like a prerequisite for watching this one, you would say?
It would help, but no, it's not a prerequisite. We all know who Batman is. We know what went down, and if you see the Joker, you know what went down with Joker for the most part. They just don't tell their version of how they took out Joker. That's it.
All right. Well, look, a lot of people liked it.
There's a lot of Easter eggs in it, I'll tell you that.
What else? Set up the next one, Dale.
All right,
What
so
else,
the next movie that we're going to talk about, and this is the non-spoiler version of it, is Uncharted. The new Uncharted. I can't just say the new Uncharted. The only Uncharted movie that came out so far. And in this case, I'm going to kick it off, stating that I was a little disappointed in the movie, as a matter of fact. It's like I think the movie. This is one of those movies where I feel like it was fun, but it wasn't a great movie.
I feel like it was neither fun nor a great movie. I think there was cool sections of it. There was definitely a lot of, like, if you want to see body shots of Tom Holland, it's gonna be right up your alley. You're gonna be happy to see that. It's like a mismatch of the games as well.
Yeah,
it was mostly
straight up.
4 though. It's mostly 4 though, which is kind of surprising. You would think they would kind of go back towards 1 and kind of go through the series, but it's mostly 4 with other things interstitched in there.
It was a mashup of 2, 3, and 4, but yes, mainly 4. Actually, I think it was 3.
It was mainly 4. Well, 3 was because of the plane, what you see in the trailer.
Yeah,
that's
but
basically 3.
But what I'm recalling is at the end of Uncharted 3, there was the whole Pirate Gold thing. I believe that was
4.
That was 4?
4 was that scene. No spoilers, but 4.
Yeah, we're talking about the
about
game.
it in spoiler.
We're talking
We'll
about
talk
the
about
game.
it in spoiler. No, but that's in 4.
All right, fine.
Kind of be more.
So we
specific
can't
in
even talk
spoilers,
about the
right?
game
But-
because that still leads in the spoilers, I guess.
Yeah,
All
because
right,
it's
but
very heavy spoilers.
okay, but just specifically talking about the movie itself, then the way that the way that they started the movie was very fast to me. Like they really rushed the opening of that and the way that they meet, and then I feel like they just kind of threw Nathan Drake into whatever was happening. They didn't give him a good reason to do any of this. They did not give him a good reason to do any of this. He was just like, all right, I'm going to roll with it the whole time.
It's rough, man. And the thing is, it's like, it lends itself to be kind of like, the games are based off of kind of like an Indiana Jones vibe, right? Like that's really what they're going off of.
If Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider had a baby, you'd have Nathan Drake.
But it's weird. It's like in a way I think they try to play against that type, right? Because the settings are very not jungly. There's a couple.
No, they immediately made the joke of him being like Indiana Jones in the movie. But that's not a spoiler. But that's just one of the jokes.
But instead of like trying to avoid it, right? They could have leaned into it, and they could have been like, okay, this is my sidekick, and this is what we're doing, because that's what you do in the games. Like that's what you're doing in the games, and it doesn't have to be a 1-to-1 recreation, right? But they're obviously pulling from the game, so if they really didn't want to do a 1-to-1, they should have done a completely brand new story, which they didn't. A lot of things they pulled from all the aspects of the game, but there was just something that it wasn't fun. It just really was not fun, you know.
Characters were there that shouldn't have been there yet. and they're gonna just. I'm sure that they're just gonna mash up the story again. And there are specific scenes from the games that you wish were in the movie, and those didn't show up, but they put in whatever scenes that they felt like it. And one of the things I actually say, and one of the best parts about the game for me, and this is a semi spoiler, but it's not a big spoiler. Normally, when Nathan Drake goes into a place, normally the place comes tumbling down, like the whole place, right?
Yeah.
And in this particular movie, nothing really came tumbling down. Not a thing. I was expecting a whole building to come falling down and him having to escape the building and having to rush out. None of that happened. Not at any point.
There's no crumbling, but there's like hijinks. Right, like there's shenanigans.
Not
like
even
the
that
chandelier.
to me.
Well, the chandelier stuff. That's not tumbling down. Those are shenanigans. That would be like
that was an almost point. That was an almost point. The only part where it was really just falling apart on him was, and very well known in the trailer, was the plane scene where he's hanging from the boxes. That was the only part where everything was crumbling apart on him, and it was like one bad thing after the next. Me and Nicole, we like to actually have this saying for when we watch certain movies. If somebody's having a really bad day and nothing's going right, but he's still making progress the whole time, we call it, you're having a Nathan Drake day.
Or
you're having an Uncharted day.
Or you're failing forward. You're failing
forward
as well, right? But it is it's a little weird. I didn't expect the 1-to-1 like you're saying. I think the cast was okay for the most part. I think
the cast was okay with the exception of the personality that they gave Nathan Drake in this one.
It's a little weird. You know what that is? I almost see. It's been a while since I watched this one. We should have done the Seent at that.
I told you.
But that is a fair point though. I just remember that watching the movie, like they make him like kind of a ladies' man type of thing or whatever, and in the games he wasn't really like that. He was kind of a sort of bumbling fool a little bit. He was really into his treasure hunting. But
very much so.
They kind of played him up to be like a ladies' man and all kinds of stuff. Like that's weird. That's not.
They made him out to be a ladies' man and a thief that doesn't want to do anything with his life. And that was not Nathan Drake from the beginning.
He was a thief though. Nathan Drake was thieving.
But not like the way they portrayed him in this movie. They took that thievery that he has and twisted it in the wrong direction of what Nathan Drake is. Yeah. And that was a sad aspect for me. Because he had his morals. He still had his morals. But in this one, his morals thrown out the window. Just gone.
Yeah, and they kind of made him like at the, pretty much, and this is like at the very beginning, right? So I don't think it's too spoilery, but he's basically a pickpocket, like off the bat. Like the first couple minutes, he's pickpocketing.
That's what I'm talking about, man. And that was all he wanted. He didn't want to do anything with his life. He had no aspirations. He didn't want to search for treasure. His form of treasure was stealing from people.
Well, and I think part of it is I think they're trying to adapt it to the movie, which, like I said, it's fine, right? A lot of it is adapting it. The fact that they're younger, right? Nathan Drake is younger, and also Sully is younger, right?
Yeah.
So they're adapting
that I actually very much enjoyed.
Aspects.
I wasn't sure if I was gonna like Mark Wahlberg as is it Sully?
Sully.
Sully. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like him as Sully, and I guess the way that even in the games that Sully talked about himself, this was a pretty good portrayal of who Sully was.
It was okay.
But over time, Sully ends up growing, and he starts to actually appreciate people a little bit more. But, he's always an asshole, and he's still an asshole here. He was just his original asshole self.
They played it up a little bit more on this one, because I think in the games he's a little more, he's a jerk, but not so like cavalier about it as he is in the movie,
at this
right?
point, at the point in the games, he's already old, and he's talking about how he used to have a cat and how he used to be an asshole and how he used to get in all kinds of trouble and run by himself. And he didn't trust people in the past, and that's exactly what they portrayed in the movie.
And I think part of the problem with adapting the games to this type of movie is that the games, any game, but in particular Uncharted, because you're taking it's an Indiana Jones vibe, so they're already kind of taking a cinematic kind of take on it, and the fact that the game in and of itself is cinematic, it's like it doesn't require a movie.
It's like you're taking cinema and turning it into cinema. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, because that's really what they're going for in the game, and of course, people go back and talk about ludonarrative conflicts or whatever you want to call it. It's like, oh, how does Uncharted, like, it has a great story, but then I'm gonna kill 100 people, like that messes with my mind. It's like, it's a fucking game, all right, but
you gotta have a little bit of action in there, and I'm pretty sure. Oh no, that's a spoiler by itself, so I'll hold off on
Well,
that.
before we go on the spoilers real quick, then, so I can sum it up real quick how kind of we felt, because we went as a family. I'm telling you, Tom Holland can do no wrong.
I like that.
Tom Holland. Hey, Tom Holland. People will follow him to the ends of hell, I think, at this point. People will show up to watch him. So, honestly, my wife, Carissa, and Lily were actually more excited about watching the movie than I was. I was like, I don't know if they'll do a good job. And they didn't. It turned out to be correct. But I will sum it up like this. At the end of the movie, I turned to my daughter, Lily, and I told her, hey, so do you like a movie Uncharted or video game Uncharted? And then she's like, I like video game Uncharted, and
she went home and played.
And I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home and replay Uncharted, and I think she's playing through 4 and Lost Legacy. I think is kind of the one she's playing.
Hey man, that'll happen. I mean, the same thing happened with you and Shenmue. The same thing happened with me and Devil May Cry. I mean, the anime was okay, but I was like, the games are so much better.
It's not. Look, it's not the same thing, Dalen, but it is your show.
It's 1-to-1. Don't give me that.
It is not at all. But spoilers, Dalen. What we got for spoilers on? And this is the end of the show, right? So if you guys don't want to hear spoilers, it's the end of the show, right?
Yeah. So you can go ahead and turn it off at this point. But thank you for joining us. If you decide to leave early, spoiler section from this point forward.
For Uncharted,
the 2022 version. Now, in this particular case, I still. All right, actually, I'm gonna let you give your spoilers. What are your spoilers in this case? What is your?
I don't think there's not too many spoilers, man. As far as like I care enough about it. I know there's gonna be a sequel. I don't know what they can do. I think they just go more original with it. I'm sure they're gonna interspirit, like they're gonna throw in like some of the older characters into it. Other than that, it's like you've pretty much seen the story if you played the games, right?
Yeah,
there's a new villain with Antonio Banderas and that kind of thing.
Hey, I'm sure next time that they're gonna introduce Ellie, that would be like the person we're waiting on. But obviously, at this point, he knows Chloe already, so that's gonna be weird later on. Yeah. So and now he knows the I don't remember her name, the girl that kept trying to kill him with the knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was at a thief's end, and this whole pirate ship thing, and I was waiting for them to get into a nice battle inside the pirate ship and let that pirate ship burn to the ground. Didn't happen.
That pirate ship. I was gonna say, but we were keeping it unspoilery because you don't know if they're gonna get there, right? But they did. That's in Uncharted 4. That is a scene from Uncharted 4, the two boats, and you're kind of moving back and forth between them.
They did something different though.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't think in Uncharted 4 they brought in helicopters.
No, right? They didn't bring in helicopters. They pulled out two boats floating in the sky, and there was a sky battle. Don't get me wrong. I actually did enjoy that sky battle.
It was nice and wacky. It was
nice and
wacky.
wacky. And you know, these boats were crashing into each other and nearly fell to his doom multiple times. They were getting thrown around the boat. That was a great Nathan Drake day. That's what I'm talking about. Get a Nathan Drake day, have all the craziness around him, and he's still getting the stuff done. What did you call it? Failing forward? Is it?
Failing forward. Yeah, but just like in the games, dude, they end up with nothing, right? Or even in the games, he ends up with one little thing. Or
he ends up with a couple of things that still gets them a good fair amount of money. But the other thing that I had the issue with outside of the airplane, which that was also the one I was talking about earlier, that was very Nathan Drakey. The problem that I had during the movie was when they actually went on their treasure hunt and they were going to the church. Because that was a part of, I'm thinking it was Uncharted 3 in that case, but again, it could have been Uncharted 4. That was also in 4. That's all 4. Oh, man, that's way too much.
You learn about his brother in 4. Like his, I think it's 4. Where they
that is 4.
You're climbing around the church and all that stuff.
And the church comes down, and he's trying to get away from the bell, and everything's crumbling around him, and he messes up an entire historical building. I even expected more stuff to happen in the catacombs that they were walking through, but absolutely nothing happened in those catacombs. As a matter of fact, Sully had to deal with people.
Sully they had to trust in each other, Dalen. They had to fight at the Papa John's. Remember, was it a Papa John's?
Yeah, it was Papa John's.
They had to fight at the Papa John's.
He was literally standing at a Papa John's.
And they learned to trust each other. All right, and that's the key component to that scene.
And then there was the action that they had Nathan Drake doing. I don't know why Nathan Drake, if he's a pickpocket and didn't want to do nothing with his life, he's working out hard at the beginning of the movie when he knows he's about to go on a treasure hunt. And he suddenly gained back all of his muscle. I don't know what he was doing the rest of his life. Yeah. I guess he was just, working out hard every day.
Because he doesn't care, but he does care. You know what I'm saying? There's some things he doesn't care about, but there's other things that he does care about.
He cared about his physical fitness for no reason.
Yeah. I Uncharted, man. I wish there was more to say. I mean, it's not even really that controversial. Like Batman, we had differing opinions about it, right?
But this
Uncharted
one is like
meh. It's just meh.
It's like, again, it was fun to watch, but I can't say it was a great movie. I do hope that they make enough money to make a part 2 to potentially fix some of the things that they did wrong in regards to the next movie, even if they completely change gears in regards to story, because obviously there was the whole thing with Sam and finding him in a jail and stuff like that. I'm hoping that they could shift gears when they do make the new movie, and even though I want it to be like Indiana Jones type of seriousness, they could throw in a couple of jokes every so often.
Well, but that's the thing, though. Indiana Jones wasn't that serious of a movie.
It was that serious of a movie.
It was hijinks and shenanigans.
But it was
they pulled that vibe off in the games, in the Uncharted games.
But for the Indiana Jones movie, it was a serious story, but you had a character that interjected with good jokes in the middle of it, and it actually came out smoothly. It came off naturally.
And he failed forward as well.
He failed forward. And I guess I could say it this way. In the Uncharted movie, the jokes felt forced. That was my problem. Is because the Uncharted games were hilarious at certain parts, but other moments it was a lot of tension, bullets flying, a car chasing you through the streets in the middle of the rain. You're about to fall out of a train, and you gotta climb your way out. But and he was making jokes while he was climbing. But
and I think a lot of and that tension that you see, like say even like all the stuff coming out of the back of the plane, right? I think a lot of the problem with that scene, it looks so like digitized. It looks so like computerized, right? Like it doesn't.
There were small sections of it being computerized, but I was able to get past that. It's kind of hard to make a scene of a person falling out of a plane.
Well, I get that, but in the game, it's all computerized. It's all models,
obviously,
3D models.
It's all
so
models.
you kind of get the tension, right? You get the full tension of it, of jumping across trains and jumping out of the back of a cargo plane. And
I think
and
that might be a problem with making video game movies, is that when you play the video game, it's interactive. You get to feel the tension in the middle of it, and it has a completely different aura to it. But then when you watch the movie, it's like you're completely disconnected from the characters themselves, and they're on a limited time frame to really give you the connection with the characters themselves. So they start mashing them together, and it kind of comes out terribly. I gotta say, if you want to enjoy the story of Uncharted, just play the games. Just go back and play the games.
Did you like before we get up out of here, Dan? Did you like Nolan North, Mr. Uncharted himself in the movie? Don't tell me. Damn, Dan, you don't even know who Nolan North is, huh? I had to point him out to Lily, actually, when we were watching. I was like, Lily, that's Uncharted. She's like, huh, that's him? I was like, yes, that's Nolan North. That is Nathan Drake himself. He was in the beach, Dylan, when he is in the beach.
Oh, when they landed on the beach, I completely forgot he was there. That's the problem with the jokes. I'm telling you, man. They're so forced, they were super forgettable. I could not tell you one joke that Nathan Drake said in that whole movie.
That one was a little forced, because he's like, oh, I've been there, buddy. Like, I was like, I mean, I like him. He is Nathan Drake from the games, and I'm still like, whatever. That's fine that he's in this. That's cool.
All right. So that was our double feature in this case for Seent. And again, my name is Dalen Kirkwood. You can see this episode at WeGotComs.com. And Carlos Macias, thank you for joining me, the original creator of this whole website and I guess the housing of this series.
You can keep going, Dalen. I don't know.
He's like, praise me.
I don't know. That's the thing. I don't even know if it's praise necessarily.
No, it's not
like,
praise.
Where is he going?
I'm giving you your the due respect that you deserve in regards to really giving us a place to have fun with these types of conversations.
Thank you very much. Look, this is your show. I know I always try to take this shit over, but thank you for having me.
Stop taking shit over. If you got something to say about my show, I'm open to criticism. Yeah. Do it before or after.
Go to wegotconf.com, right, as well. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, right, Dan? So
yes.
See you guys next time.
I'm going to let you have that one.
We kept it smoky, man. I hope people enjoy it. We kept it smoky out there.